Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, FY24 Upholding the Rule of Law and Preventing Wrongful Convictions program, hosted by the Bureau of Justice Assistance. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Gregory Terrain, Senior Policy Advisor with BJA, to begin the presentation. Greg.
All right, thank you, Daryl, and welcome everyone to the FY24 Upholding the Rule of Law and Preventing Wrongful Conviction solicitation. Again, my name is Greg Terrain. I am one of the presenters for today. You'll also hear from Carrie. We are the policy advisors that manage this program. Next slide. So for today's agenda, we'll go over the welcome and introduction to the Office of Justice Program, as well as what is the Bureau of Justice Assistance. We'll go over a program overview. We'll also do the eligibility and requirements. We'll talk about some application resources. The one I like the best is the feedback from the experts. So we'll get an opportunity to ask a couple poll questions for you all. It's always helpful for us to do that because it allows us to get your feedback and to be able to see how we can better support you and make our program a better program for the next coming years. Then following that, we'll have a Q&A. Next slide. So section 1, welcome and introduction. We can go to the next slide. So what is the Office of Justice Program? The BJA, or Office of Justice Program, provides grant funding, training, research, and statistics for the criminal justice community, and we are one of 3 grant components within Department of Justice. The other is OVW, which is the Office of Violence Against Women, Office of Community-Oriented Policing, and within the Office of Justice Program, you have what's listed on the right, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, both where myself and Carrie sit. You also have the BJS, so the Bureau of Justice Statistics, who collect criminal justice-related data and statistics. Then you have NIJ, who provide criminal justice-related research. Then you also have Office of Victims of Crime that provides funding to support crime victims. You have OJJDP, which also supports grant funding to support juvenile justice-related programs as well as family programs. And then lastly, you have the SMART Office, the Office of Sex Offender, Sentencing, Monitoring, Apprehension, and Registering. So those are all the entities that sit within the Office of Justice Programs. Next slide. So here is our mission at BJA. I won't read through the entire mission. It's just important to understand that BJA works with our partners to reduce crime, recidivism, and unnecessary confinement, and promote a safe and fair criminal justice system. And we're led by our director, Carlton Moore. Next slide. So how does BJA support the field? We do it in 3 ways. The first being our investment. So our investments are solicitations that we put out for applicants to apply to support the work and goals of the current administration, as well as what we're trying to do here at BJA as aligned with our mission. Shared knowledge. BJA also supports a number of research projects that supports the field in terms of identifying what are best practices, and we use that information that we learn from the field to be able to infuse back into our particular programs to make our programs more research-based and align with the most upcoming and the trends. And then engagement. We engage our various partners, whether it's our TTA providers, whether it's our other federal partners, or whether it's you, the community that are doing the work, to ensure that we know what's going on, we identify what the trends are, and we bring that back. And collectively, through our investments, our research, and our engagement, we are working to create stronger programs that will impact communities and help you do the work that you do. So next slide. So I'll go over the program view. So for the Upholding the Rule of Law and Preventing Wrongful Conviction program, our goal really is to enhance and expand the work that you guys do on a day-to-day basis to help you better identify, assess, and manage post-conviction claims of innocence while translating lessons learned into practices to prevent future error and to bring justice to victims. So again, our role is really to provide the support you need through the funding vehicle, which is our solicitation, as well as our training technical assistance that provides a variety of different resources to support you. Next slide. So here's our first poll question. So has your organization or entity ever received a BJA wrongful conviction award? So please indicate yes or no. This is just allows us to get a good sense of who's on the webinar that have received the funding and also those who have not. So it's always good for us to have a sense of that. So I'll give you maybe a couple, 30 seconds to respond to that question. Okay, we'll give it another 10 seconds and then we'll move on to the next one. Let's see what we have here. So it sounds like, looks like almost even to yes, no, and no answer. So it sounds like we got a pretty diverse group on today's webinar. So again, thank you for responding to that poll question. We can move on to the next slide. So for this year's solicitation, we're going to break down how many awards we look to make in each of the categories. So, and this is also information that's current solicitation. So for category 1, for the wrongful conviction entity-led strategy, we're expecting to make 9 awards in the amount of $600,000 for each individual award, the maximum amount. These awards will start October 1st of 2024, and these awards are for 36 months, 36 months, 3 years. For category 2, the conviction integrity unit-led partnership, we're looking to expect to make 2 awards, the amount of $600,000, which is the maximum. Again, a start date of October 1st of 2024, and the period of performance for those awards are 36 months. And then category 3 is our wrongful conviction and CIU TTA award. So we'll make 1 award in that category. The funding amount is $1.2 million. And again, that one starts on October 1st, 2024, and that's for 24 months for the period of performance. Next slide. Okay. So for category 1, the wrongful conviction entity-led strategy, this strategy led by a wrongful conviction entity that focuses on review and litigation of post-conviction claims of innocence. So the maximum award is up to $600,000. So I want to kind of clarify. So if you're applying and your entity doesn't require or need the maximum amount of $600,000, you can apply for $100,000. You can apply for $200,000. You can apply for $300,000. Whatever is best or works best for you in your program or what you need in terms of funding. So for period of performance, again, it's up to 36 months. So if you're applying, you may be flexible where you request the maximum amount for 12 months, for 24 months. So it's really up to your needs. We want to make sure that we're supporting you in terms of what you need for the time that you need that funding. So I want to kind of be clear with that. And then also it's important to know that partnerships with a CIU is encouraged but not required. If you do submit an application within category 1 and do not indicate that you have a partnership with a CIU, it won't count against you. There's no points to that. All applications will look the same. I just want to note of that. So we can go to next. So for category 2, the CIU unit-led partnership, strategy led by a state or local prosecutor's office or a CIU that focuses on the prevention of wrongful convictions and the review of post-conviction claims of innocence, and may include partnerships with wrongful conviction entities. Again, similar to category 1, the maximum amount is up to $600,000. Again, it's based off your need, and then the performance measures or the period of performance is up to 36 months. And again, that's consistent with category 1. It's only 12 months you need or 24 months. Request that in your application. And again, a partnership with a wrongful conviction entity or review entity is encouraged but not required. Again, there's no penalty for not having a partnership indicated in your application. Next slide. So allowable use of funds. So here is, but not limited to how funds can be used. So the 6 different categories you see in front of you or areas are what typically applicants indicate in their application how they plan to address their goals and objectives. Within each of these categories, there is flexibility to look at diverse ways or innovative ways that you can request funding to support your initiative. Most recently, we were at the Innocence Network Conference, and we got a couple questions related to diverse and innovative ways to use your funding. One was related to hiring or having an evaluator to be a part of our program, to support our program. And yes, that is allowable because that allows you to be able to look at how you can expand on your goals by looking at evaluating the overall process of being efficient with your program, or whatever it is that supports the overall goal of your program to make your program successful. Then that's an allowable cost to support that that person to be there to evaluate the program. Another was looking at innovative or unique partners to be at the table to work with you to support your efforts and your goals and objectives of your program. So that would also be allowable. But if there's anything that's questionable, definitely feel free to reach out or even ask those questions. But we do encourage innovation in our applications. So I just want to make sure that's noted. Next slide. So also we have the Category 3, the Wrongful Conviction and CIU TTA. Funding is intended to help wrongful conviction entities, prosecutors, law enforcement, defense counsels, and courts identify actual perpetrators and develop training tools, policies, and procedures that can prevent wrongful convictions. Again, the maximum amount within that category is $1.2 million. And the period of performance is 24 months. Next slide. So for training technical assistants, some of the deliverables that are indicated in the solicitation is that direct consultation. So that person needs to be able to indicate how they're going to be able to conduct meetings and assess our grant's needs, bringing in subject matter experts to assist in identifying those needs to ensure that our grantees are able to implement the programs as successful as possible, developing helpful materials that are conducting post-conviction investigation and litigation, whether it's podcasts, publications that may be helpful, or guides to our grantees. We'll be looking to work with that TTA provider, or that TTA provider or the applicant who's applying for TTA would be indicating that in their application in terms of what will be those products based off what we know are the needs of the field. Then also offering webinars and trainings on topics that are specific to the needs of conviction integrity units as well as wrongful conviction review entities. And then evaluations, looking to support our grantees in terms of going out and providing comprehensive qualitative research-based evaluations to ensure that if there are challenges that need support, then we will be providing that support. So really for the applicants that are applying for the site-based awards, the individual awards, we really want to make sure that when we're making our awards, we're working to help you be as successful as possible. We know everyone comes at a different level or a different aspect of funding levels and or work that you're doing and different challenges in your jurisdiction. Our really overall goal is really to get you to the best situation you can be and to be successful. And that's our overall goal with our grantees. Next slide. So again, we have another poll question for you guys. Will you be applying for funding out of this solicitation? Please indicate yes or no. So again, we'll give it about 30 to 40 seconds for you to provide this information. And this is also pretty helpful for us. It gives us a good sense of who we have on and who's looking to apply for funding. All right, we'll give it about another 10 seconds, see what we have. Okay. So it looks like a large number are looking to apply, and we have a large number of just didn't respond, but may be interested to learn more. So again, thank you for submitting that poll. Again, that information is going to be helpful for us as we move forward with this whole grant process. Next slide. So if you indicated that you are looking to apply, for which category will you be applying? Again, category 1 is the wrongful conviction-led entity. Category 2 is the conviction integrity category, and then category 3 is the training technical assistant category. All right, we'll give you guys about another 15 seconds. Okay, let's see what we have. Okay. All right, so we have 16 for category 1, 14 for category 2, and 6 for category 3. Awesome. Thank you guys for responding to that poll. Again, this is helpful information for us just to have a sense of what we may potentially have coming in terms of for review. Next slide. So I want to make note that there are 2 deadlines. As you can see, the solicitation was released back in March 20th. April 11th, we are at the 23rd day since the solicitation has been out. Step 1 of this process is the grants.gov. The deadline is May 15th, so you need to definitely make sure that if you're going to be applying, you want to start your process like now and make sure that you meet that deadline of May 15th. And then the step 2 process is the Just Grants process, where you submit the remainder of your application via Just Grants, and that deadline is a week after that, which is May 22nd. This solicitation is out 64 days, which is pretty consistent with most of our other solicitations. So again, if you haven't started yet, please start right away if you're looking to apply for this funding. Next slide. Okay, eligibility requirements. Next slide. So who may apply in both category 1? So these are the areas that you would need to be as an entity to be able to apply. So I'm not going to read through all of them. Just look at and understand the entity that you are. And if you fall within any of these categories for category 1 and 2, then you are eligible to apply to the solicitation, again, for those 2 categories. Just give it a second so everyone can make sure they can see all the different, each of the entities. So we'll move to the next slide. So for category 3, which is the training and technical assistance, these are who may apply, or entities that can apply for category 3. And as you can see in the left is these, and we're looking definitely for entities that have experience and expertise in administering CIUs and or experience in reviewing cases of post-conviction and appeal claims of innocence. Okay, all right, we can move to the next slide. So OJP priority areas. So OJP provides priority considerations for applicants for a number of different priority areas we have. For this solicitation, we have priority area 1A, applicants that propose projects that are designed to meaningfully advance equity and remove barriers to accessing services and opportunities for communities that have been historically underserved, marginalized, adversely affected by inequality, and disproportionately impacted by crime, violence, and victimization. So within this category, if you're looking to apply for this priority consideration, to receive this, the applicant must describe how the proposed project will address identified inequities and contribute to greater access to services and opportunities for these communities. So within the solicitation, there's certain areas that you that's indicated where you respond to this priority. Next slide. So like we mentioned earlier, there is an application checklist at the end of the solicitation. I encourage you to please visit that and look at it. And when you're submitting your application, go through the checklist 1, 2, 3, 10 times to make sure that you are submitting everything that's required within the application. So again, application step 1, under grants.gov, these will be the 2 documents that you'll be sending. This is the step 1 process of the application. It's the SF-424, as well as the lobbying activities form, the SF-LLL. Once completed, then the next phase or step would be step 2 within Just Grants. These are some of the documents that you would need to submit under the application step 2 process in Just Grants. As you can see, there are some highlighted as required. The next slide, I'll go a little more in depth as it relates to those documents. But you can see, obviously, the abstract, the narrative, your budget, indirect cost, financial management forms, disclosure, and there's some additional attachments that are indicated in the application checklist. So definitely, it's always good to go back once you're looking before you submit your application to go back to that checklist to make sure you have everything covered and that you're not missing anything that needs to be in your application. Next slide. So what we have is called basic minimum required, or what we call here at BJ BMR. So solicitations are you soliciting, so what you need to make sure that you have in or address is the basic minimum requirements, which are the critical elements of your solicitation. As you saw in the previous slide, we had required by the project abstract, the narrative, the budget, and timeline. It's important to note that if you do not, or your application does not contain any of these elements, the application will not move to peer review, which means it will not get processed in terms of being reviewed. So be sure to make sure that when you submit your application, it has these 4 critical elements. One of the mistakes that's done in the past is that sometimes we have applicants who may have 2 or 3 people working on an application, and then when they upload the form, sometimes the form they might upload the wrong or incorrect form or document, and or I've seen plenty of times where they upload blank documents that have the label as project abstract or narrative. You guys spend a lot of work, a lot of time and effort in submitting applications, so you want to constantly check to make sure what you're finalizing or sending over or uploading is the actual final document and completed document. And again, I've seen that plenty of times where we open up an application and it's a couple blank forms that's titled project narrative. It's kind of hard to read an application if you don't have the actual narrative in the application. So next slide. So we'll be going over some of the different required documents. The first one is the abstract. Should be no more than 400 words. What should be in an abstract? You should be addressing what the purpose is, the primary activities, and what you're looking to do, some of the expected outcomes, what's the service area, some of the intended beneficiaries, community criminal justice partners that you'll be working with, and if you have subrecipients, provide that information as well. And again, it's pretty much summarizing the project in your proposal abstract. Next slide. So the program narrative, again, a required document. Make sure you read through all the instructions on this page and you meet all the proposal narrative guidelines, that being double-spaced, standard 12-point font, 1-inch margins, and it should not exceed 15 pages. And the number of pages should be from, an example would be 1 of 15. So first page would be 1 of 1, 1 of 2, 1 of 3, and so on. If a proposal narrative fails to comply with the length restrictions, BJA may consider such noncompliance in peer review and a final award decision. So you definitely want to make sure you go over the instructions, understand the instructions, and then obviously follow the instructions. So helpful tips: table charts and graphs included in the program narrative can be created in legible font smaller than 12-point font and will be included in the total number page limit. So it's important to know if you do include tables and charts, what the limit is for that. So next slide. So proposal narrative, and continuing with that. So each solicitation in the program narrative has, well, here's 5 sections. You have description of issue, project design, capabilities, plan for collecting data, and then at the bottom, the budget. So as you can see, you have those 5 sections, and then for each category, those sections are weighted by a percentage. So you can see which ones are, so you can see project design implementation and capabilities and competency are the most heavily weighted. What I always encourage applicants to do is when you're working on your project narrative, you want to be sure to make sure you focus on where the highest percentage of your score would be. So you want to spend 40% of your time, make sure you're addressing the project design and implementation, maybe 20% of your time that you allot to this towards capabilities and competencies. So it just gives you a sense of what you really you should be focusing on the most in terms of, or what will get you your best bang for your buck when you're submitting your project narrative. One other thing I want to mention too is a helpful tip. I used to write grants a while back, haven't done it in a while, obviously. But one thing is important when you have your solicitation, you're looking to respond to questions. What's always helpful is if you cut and paste every different thing that we're requesting that you provide in the application, in the solicitation, maybe cut and paste it in another Word document, each of those different sections, and then respond individually to every question that is in the solicitation. For one, it's helpful because those who are reviewing it are able to find that information because it's where it's supposed to be. And two, you want a reviewer that's happy and that's reviewing your solicitation, being able to find the information. Last thing you want is a peer reviewer to be looking for information and it's not in a location where it should be. So there's just a couple of tips that I've seen in the past that may be helpful for structuring your application. Next slide. So I'll turn this over to Carrie.
Hi, everyone. Just a few things on the budget and the narrative web-based form. I do see a question in the chat asking if the budget form will be the same. Yes, there have been no anticipated changes communicated to us, so we do, it should stay the same. So one thing that we see a lot, and I just wanted to flag for everyone's attention, is that please do not include any non-federal request or dollar amounts in this budget. The wrongful conviction solicitation and program does not require match. And if you do include match, sometimes people think it gives them a leg up. It causes all sorts of problems, and we probably will ask you to remove it, or worst comes to worst, we have to award you a grant with match in it, which then means you are legally required to provide that funding yourself. And a lot of times organizations are not able to, but it's too bad because you told us you would, and so we approved your grant based on that. So please do not include match. Again, once more, do not include it. It'll make everyone a lot happier. The second little tip is in your budget narrative, that is the section, not where you're providing calculations, but where you explain your calculations to us. So you may ask for a case manager at $50 or $50,000 a year, and that's fine. But then within the narrative section, you need to tell us what that case manager is doing. And if you don't, we will come back and ask you to clarify. Another thing to know is that if we have to ask you for clarification on something you've put into your budget or into the project narrative, we will do so, and the changes will be sent to the application submitter in your organization. So whoever that is, please just make sure that they are looking in their spam inbox just to make sure they're not missing any emails from us. In addition, if we do reach out to you, that is not an indication that we intend to fund. So I just have to throw that out there. But please, if we have questions for you, make sure that you're responding to us in a timely manner. We would like to get all of our budgets cleared, but OCFO, the Chief Financial Office, they have thousands and thousands of budgets to review in the summer. And so if they're unable to review and clear your budget by July 26th this year, they will be moving ahead with making awards, but holding funds. So it's very important if you receive a grant from us, when you go in and you check to see if your budget has been cleared. Most likely it will not be, just we run out of time. So just be on the lookout for that to know that you are not able to start spending until we contact you and clear your budget. Next slide, please. Again, Greg mentioned this earlier, but the timeline is web-based this year. It is a requirement. If you do submit a timeline that is incomplete, we can make the award, but we will hold your funds until we receive all of the information that we had requested. Next slide, please. So I know Greg talked about the Just Grants and the grants.gov, 2 different deadlines. Again, please read carefully through everything. It is a 2-part process. And a note with the SF424, it's what we consider the application page. Again, do not put anything other than the amount that you're requesting from us into that that sheet. The UEI number, also please go over and double check that that is the correct UEI number for your organization. If we make an award to you and it's not with the UEI that you had intended, it is a very lengthy and difficult process to reverse that and give it to the correct organization. It can take up to a year, during which time you do not have access to your funding. So again, please make sure that whatever UEI number you're entering is the one that is associated with the organization that intends to apply and administer the funds. Next slide, please. Again, just reiterating with the SF424 in the budget, no match at all. And I did want to mention one thing with subawards versus procurement contracts in your submitted budgets. If you are partnering with a wrongful conviction review entity or a CIU or others, they will be considered subgrants and subawards, and that holds greater responsibility for the prime agency, which means that you will be responsible for monitoring and additional oversight of your partners. It is extra steps, and we do evaluate to make sure that you are properly monitoring your subgrants, but I just wanted to let people know, again, that if you do partner with an organization, it will be considered a subaward. Next slide, please. Again, as Greg said, please, please, please review all the documents and the requirements in the solicitation. If you just go step by step, it'll tell you everything you need to know. And I did want to point out two things: that the disclosure of pending applications that is required, what it's asking for is if you are applying with other agencies for identical costs, we want to know. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if you apply with us to fund a case manager, but then you apply with another agency to fund an attorney, those are not identical costs, and that is not what we're necessarily looking for or interested in. We want to know if you're applying for the same grant, basically, with multiple agencies. And then the research and evaluation integrity statement, if you do intend to use your funding to hire an evaluator, we do require a statement of research integrity, so you can find the link in the solicitation to the requirements for that. I think the next slide, and it goes back to Greg.
All right, thanks, Carrie. So some of our application resources, let's go to the next slide. So we have the OJP Grant Application Resource Guide. This is to help you through your whole application process. So definitely use that. You'll see this language or a link to this throughout the whole solicitation at various points. Looking to your right, I know it might be challenging to see, but it has how to apply in each aspect of your application. It provides instructions on how to go through that process, how to make attachments, how to put attachments in. So definitely, if you have challenges when you're looking to submit your application or working through your application, this is the guide that will assist you through that process. Next slide. So then we have the Just Grants learning system. So as you're moving forward with submitting your application through Just Grants, here again are various resources that you can use to find different webinars or resources or other guides that can support you in submitting your application through Just Grants. Next slide. So then we also have, so when you're looking to submit your application, again, we're at that step 1 to the left where it says grants.gov. This is pretty much to provide you with technical support in submitting both the SF424 and SFLLL or Triple L. You have a customer support hotline as well. So again, if you're working through grants.gov and you have challenges at that step process, this is where you would go to be able to get assistance. And also to your right, whereas Just Grants technical support, the same information, customer support hotline, web and email information, as well as a variety of resources. And this information is also included in, I think, the second page or third page of the solicitation. Next slide. Then we also have how you can subscribe to OJP if you're interested and getting texts about various different opportunities. So we do every year in the beginning of grant season, we do webinars, and we also have these webinars on our webinar page. So if you go into BJA webinar, we have webinars on how to apply for funding, all the things you need to do, as well as our funding opportunities. And again, at the beginning of each year, we do a variety of webinars on all the different solicitations that we'll be putting out each year. So it's very helpful. So if this grant doesn't meet all your needs, or if you apply for this funding, but there's still gaps in services that you need, it's also helpful to look at those webinars to see what other funding opportunities that we do have that will fit and support what you need in your jurisdiction. So, but again, it says email updates. You just text OJP, enter your email address, or you can scribe that way. So it's just the best way to scribing to us and getting the most latest information. Next slide. How to stay connected with BJ. We have a Facebook, our Twitter, as well as our YouTube account. So definitely feel free to stay connected to what we're doing at BJ. We're doing some great things, and we want you to be connected to that. So next slide. Additional questions. So if you're working through challenges with your application, you would submit those questions. I would love to say just submit them directly to me, but it's helpful that you first send those questions through the OJP Response Center. They'll select those questions, and then they'll send them to me. And then if I have challenges, I'll send them. I'll work with Carrie to make sure we're able to respond to your questions. But it's helpful that those questions go there because they collect those questions, and we're able to, at the end of the year, or at least the end of this process, to be able to identify what are the most frequent questions that we're receiving, to let us know where we might be challenged with our solicitation in terms of not being able, people may be confused what we have in solicitation if we're getting a lot of questions. So that helps us to be able to, the next time we create a solicitation, that we're making sure that we're clear in terms of what people are having questions on for the next time. So it's helpful for us to be able to collect and analyze that data to make sure that the solicitation process is a cleaner process and a more understood process for the next year. So next slide. Again, just a reminder that there are dual deadlines. Step one, I know we kind of been beating this down, but yeah, for step one, you definitely want to submit those 2 forms. And then for step 2 is the full application and just grants. Next slide. Okay, kind of more of the same. That's the technical for the top for grants.gov. That's the technical assistance for just grants. Again, that's the technical assistance for filling your full application. And then the OJP Response Center is technical assistance for questions you have related to the actual solicitation. Next slide. I think that might be the last slide. Oh no, this is probably one of the more important ones for us is feedback from the experts. So like I mentioned, you guys are our experts in the field. You're actually on the ground doing this work, and it's helpful for us to be able to always look to get your feedback to see how we can, again, better work to make sure this program fits your needs. And the best way to do that is obviously to ask you questions about it. And again, this won't be the last time you'll hear from us coming out to try to get feedback from you guys. But this is just one aspect of it to get some feedback. So the first one is the current funding amount of $600,000 for up to 3 years sufficient to manage a wrongful conviction and or a CIU program. So I'll give you some time to respond to that. So it's yes or no. All right, so we'll give it another 20 seconds for a response. Okay. So we got quite a few no answers, but more of yes, 18 yes, and 11 no. Okay. Again, thank you for that response. We'll go to the next question. How can BJ support wrongful conviction entities and CIUs to enhance efficiency in case review? These are 3 examples, but if there's an other, please let us know. First one is with funding to support access to digitized information. helping to make the information you get digitized. Would that be helpful? Make your work more efficient? Or funding to support the review of cases using artificial intelligence, or supporting collaboration among wrongful convictions and conviction integrity unit entities. So we'll give it, let's say 30 seconds to respond to that. Yeah, and again, for BJA, we're really want to get that input from you guys to make sure that we understand what your challenges are and how we can make your work easier or more efficient, let's say. So let's give about 10 more seconds and then we'll wrap up this question. Okay, so we have 12 for funding, support, access to digitize, 2 for funding for artificial intelligence. Okay, that's good to know. Support for collaboration. That's okay, good. Awesome, that's excellent to know. All right, thank you guys for that. Let's see, I think we have just a few more questions. I think these are more summary type related questions. So let's go to the next slide. What are some of the most critical areas of preventing risk for area that contribute to wrongful convictions in your jurisdiction? So this is typing in the answer. So what are some of the most critical areas of preventing risk for error that contribute to wrongful convictions in your particular jurisdiction? Since we're typing this out, we'll get that up another 30 seconds. So I believe this is being recorded, but we'll figure out a way. We're asking you guys for these polls. So the worst thing you can do is ask people for questions and not give them what the responses are. So we'll work to, once this is being recorded, but we'll definitely have this information available to you all that are participating on this webinar. So the last thing you want to do is be asked questions and not know what the responses are, or at least have those responses. Okay, I think we can maybe wrap this one up. Okay, so I don't think we could probably see these responses because there are probably a lot of summaries. So what we'll do, again, like I mentioned, we'll definitely share this information with you guys that, at a later date. Next slide, I think this is our last. What are the most critical training and technical assistant needs? So what are your most critical training and technical assistant needs? So we'll give it about another 30 seconds before we close this poll. Okay, I think we can probably close this one up. Okay. All right, so again, these are not, you probably can't see these. Again, we'll definitely share this information with you. It's very important for us to know because it helps us to be able to know what your needs are and how we tailor our training technical assistance to the needs of you all. So, all right, next slide. Okay, so it looks like we're going to move to questions, Q&A. So I want to turn this back over to our facilitator, Daryl, and if there's questions through the Q&A that we can, both me and Carrie can respond to.
Great, thanks so much, Greg and Carrie. And just as a mention, it's been referenced that the PowerPoint transcript and recording for today will be posted to the BJA website. So everybody that registered will receive an email when and where to access that, so you can go back when references needed. First one here in the queue is, can for-profits apply for this grant?
Okay, nonprofits.
I have for-profits.
Or for-profits for, let's see, for which category are we referring to?
I was actually didn't mention in the question.
Okay.
Do you want to follow up on that? Who asked that?
So for categories, I'll go over. So for who can apply under category 1 and 2, I'll just go over it. State, county, and local government, federally recognized Native American tribes and tribal organizations, public and state-controlled institutions of higher education, private institutions of higher education, nonprofits other than institutions of higher education, and state, county, or local public defender's office that have an in-house post-conviction representation program. So that's for if you're looking to apply for categories 1 and 2.
Great, thanks for that, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what constitutes a partnership with a CIU for category 1 applications from a wrongful conviction entity?
Well, a partnership would be, well, I guess it could be 2 type of partnerships. So if when you're submitting your application and a wrongful conviction entity is looking to partner with a CIU, then they would, if they were in the same application, like Carrie mentioned, that the wrongful conviction of category 1 was the applicant or the fiscal agent applying, then the CIU would be the subawardee in the application, and they would indicate that in their application in terms of what that partnership would be and what the negotiated partnership would be as part of that application. There also could be a partnership between a wrongful conviction entity and a conviction integrity unit that both apply. One applies on the category 1 and the other applies on the category 2, where they're both applying for the same funding, but they're and for the maximum amount of funding, but they're also indicating that they will partner with that other entity.
Regarding the proposal abstract, the proposal narrative, the budget narrative, and timeline, do you prefer each of these be individual documents, or they should be all combined into one file?
They would be individual documents. So when you do the project abstract, that's going to be uploaded as the abstract as an individual document. The project narrative would be its own individual upload document. The timeline as well as the timeline is a Just Grants web-based document also. So each one would be uploaded separately. They wouldn't be one document. Good question.
And then looking at page 10 of the solicitation, 9 objectives are listed. Are these just for category 3 applicants, or are those for all 3 categories?
All right, let me take a second to pull up solicitation. And what page was that? I'm sorry.
It said 10.
Oh, the objectives. So it's a combination of each of the, so the goal and objectives is a combination of all of the categories. So it's inclusive.
And then Greg, there was a question regarding those answer polls, and are those able to be answered post-webinar for submission anywhere? I don't know if you knew if that was going to be a possibility if you were seeking that feedback.
What I would request is, so we have the OJP Response Center. So if you have additional information that you want to share, definitely send it through that and indicate what program you're sending it towards for, and we'll end up getting that information.
And I'll go ahead. I answered the question with the email, and it's grants@ncjrs.gov.
Yes.
Mike, if you want to go to slide 41, we can just have that up for a moment. And that's with the same information, but it also includes the 800 number if you need that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the end of the questions in the Q&A. I know there was a couple in the chat, so I can go there and kind of see what's. Well, actually, I think Carrie addressed this. I just want to ask it again, just in case it's a little different. Will the budget narrative web-based form be the same as last year? Changed from 22 to 23 as recalled.
Carrie, do you want to take that one?
Oh, yes. We have not been told about any changes, so we expect the process to be the same. And Daryl, I'm sorry, I did forget to add one thing that I'm not sure we highlighted for potential applicants. New this year is a brief applicant entity questionnaire that you'll see. It's a web-based form, and it's basically asking biographical data. We are interested to see who's applying for our grants and how we can expand access. So they would really like people to fill that out. However, it is not going to be included in review criteria for your grant. So answering it or not answering it will not have any impact on whether your grant is funded.
Thanks for that clarification. And then, can a nonprofit submit a grant proposal in partnership with a CIU in Category 2 and submit a proposal for other purposes under Category 1?
So
Okay.
yes, in a qualified way, that if the nonprofit were partnering with the CIU in Category 2, the CIU would be the lead grantee. And so the nonprofit would be able to apply for their own primary grant under Category 1.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, we do still have a couple more moments, so if you do have a question, please go ahead and enter that in. And then I think this one is, what if all the funds aren't used? The goal has been achieved. Is it a refund required on that grant amount?
So these grants are reimbursement based, so you will not have access to all the funds up front. So if grant management has gone as the way it should be, you would just be drawing down what you need as you go along. So there should not be anything to refund to us if you end your grant early. And then one more great resource for people who are curious, I can drop the link in the chat if it works, is you're able to go back and look at previously funded wrongful conviction grants, and you can see the individual awardees from each year. You may have to do a little bit of searching, but I just dropped in the 2023 grantees. So if you click on the links under their names, it should bring up their abstract so you can get a sense of what other organizations are doing.
Yeah, and it's great. One of the things that I'm hoping to get up on our website as well, under wrongful conviction, our link under the link of the program is some successful applications. So I'm looking to put up a successful CIU application or a project narrative, obviously redacting the information from that information, as well as a wrongful conviction successful application coming pretty soon. We'll make sure that's up and people can get the opportunity to see what two successful applications look like as in terms of the project narratives.
Yeah, and Greg, that's a great point. So in the chat, I've entered a link to successful applications in general, not specific to this one, but in case attendees were looking just to see how those are put together and what they look like. So you can click that link as well.
Yeah, because we don't have that yet. I'm working to have that, so we'll have at least 2 of them that are specific to this program.
Okay, we just hang on for another minute here. If you do have a question, enter that in. All right, so I think that's the end of for today. Greg, Carrie, anything in closing you wanted to make mention?
Yeah, I'll just say good luck to everybody. BJ is always excited about the opportunity to put new funding out there and make new awards and eventually have new grantees. So we understand that, you have to apply, and we'll look forward to your applications. And again, good luck in this process. I don't know if Carrie had anything.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Great, thanks so much. So on behalf of the Bureau of Justice Assistance and our panelists, I want to thank you for joining today's presentation. This will end today's webinar.